All right, today we are going to completely master the airport. We're going to break down all that confusing travel jargon into a simple vocabulary that'll make your next trip an absolute breeze. So let's dive in.
You know that feeling, right? That little bit of panic when you're looking at all these signs and the clock is just ticking away? Well, that feeling, it ends today. Seriously, think of this as your secret weapon, your cheat sheet to walking through any airport like you own the place.
Okay, so a stress free trip? It doesn't actually start when you get to the airport. Nope, it starts right at home. And the secret ingredient is preparation, starting with your most important documents. Think of these three things as your golden keys for travel. Your e-ticket is basically your proof of purchase for the flight. Your passport, that's your official ID for the whole world. And a visa, that's like a special permission slip to enter a particular country. And a little pro tip from me to you, always check if you need a visa before you even think about booking that flight. All right, documents are sorted. Next up, luggage. Your checked baggage? That's the big stuff that goes under the plane in the cargo hold, so pack anything you don't need right away in there. Your carry-on luggage stays with you, and this is super important. This is where your valuables, your medications, anything you absolutely can't lose should go. And hey, how are you going to lug all that stuff around? You're going to want to grab a trolley or a cart. Trust me, when you've got heavy bags, this thing is a lifesaver. Okay, so you've made it inside the main airport building. That's called the terminal. Now, this is where the real adventure begins. So your first mission is to find the check-in counter for your airline. This is where you'll say a temporary goodbye to your checked bags, and in return, they're going to hand you what is probably the single most important piece of paper for the next few hours. And that piece of paper, that is your boarding pass. This is your golden ticket to get on the plane. It's got everything, your gate number, your seat number, and your boarding time. So yeah, whatever you do, don't lose this thing. Okay, so let's just quickly run through the process, right? Step 1, check-in. You've done that. Next, you're heading to the security check. This is where they'll scan you and your carry-on. Once you're through that, you're in the clear. You just follow the signs to your gate and you can chill out in the big waiting area, which is called the departure lounge. So, you've conquered security, you found your gate, nice. Now it's kind of a waiting game. But, and this is a big but, you can't just zone out completely. You've got to keep your eyes and ears open for some really important info. You're going to look for those giant screens all over the place. Those are the departures boards. Find your flight number on there. That's the unique code for your flight, something like AA207. That board is your single source of truth for everything that's about to happen with your flight. And on that board, you're going to see a status next to your flight. Let's break down what they mean. On time? Perfect. You're golden. Delayed? Bummer, but hey, more time for coffee. Canceled? Okay, that's when you need to go talk to an airline agent. And gate change. That means you got to get moving to a new spot. And then you're going to hear an announcement that sounds something like this. Final call isn't just a friendly reminder. It means, hey, drop your coffee, stop shopping, and get to the gate right now. Seriously, it's the absolute last chance before they shut those doors. Phew, you made it. You're on the plane. Okay, let's talk about a few terms you'll need to know once you're settled in and up in the air. So, who's who on the plane? Well, way up front in the cockpit, you've got the pilot, the one flying the plane. And then walking up and down the aisle, helping everyone out, that's the cabin crew. You probably know them as flight attendants. They're there to keep you safe and comfortable. All right, let's settle the age-old debate. Window seat or aisle seat? The window seat is awesome for those amazing views, and you've got a wall to lean against to sleep. The aisle seat, though, gives you that freedom to get up, stretch your legs, or use the restroom without having to climb over anybody. The choice is yours. Okay, so once you get to your seat, there are two things you got to do right away. First, take your carry-on bag and pop it into the overhead bin right above you. Then, sit down and buckle up that seatbelt. You'll definitely need to keep it fastened for takeoff and landing. The flight itself is really a story in 3 parts. You've got the thrill of takeoff, when the plane actually leaves the ground. Then, during the flight, you might hit some turbulence. It's just some bumpy air, totally normal, nothing to worry about. And finally, the best part. The landing, when you're back on solid ground at your destination. The wheels have hit the runway. You've landed. But wait, hold on. The journey isn't quite over yet. There are still a few final steps to get through. Okay, here's what happens next. First, you'll go through what's called immigration or passport control. That's where an official will check your documents. After that, you'll follow the signs to baggage claim. This is where you get to reunite with your big suitcase. You'll see it coming around on a moving belt. That's called a carousel. And finally, you'll walk through customs, where you declare any goods you're bringing into the country. But what about those trips that aren't just one single flight? Well, if you have a connecting flight to get to your final destination, that time you spend waiting in the airport in between is called a layover or a stopover. Generally, a layover is just a few hours, while a stopover could be long enough to leave the airport for a bit.
And just like that, you've picked up over 50 essential airport terms. I mean, from e-ticket all the way to baggage claim, you now have the language to handle every single part of your trip with confidence.
So, what's the big takeaway here? The airport isn't this big, scary, confusing place anymore. Not for you. It's just the starting line for your next big adventure. Now that you can speak the language, there's really only one question left. Where will it take you next?